Okay, guys, it's week 5 already, so we're moving right along. Great job so far, by the way, in getting everything in on time. That is just awesome, and I can't tell you how many times I've had problems in the past with you know with that. So I really appreciate that, and that's going to serve you well too as designers in the real world. So today, quick first video on just going over what you guys did in this assignment. I have not actually looked at these yet, so this is going to be kind of just reaction and giving feedback on the fly, which can be fun. And then I'm going to show you guys what I did for this, because this is actually a design that I did for a client, for a friend. It's a big event that they're putting on, and actually the event is this Friday, so kind of relevant. Anyway, let's go and not waste any more time and check out your guys' stuff for this assignment. Bailey, I'm sorry. You're the guy. You're the first guy. Nice. Okay. Things I like about this right off the bat. It's readable. The things you need to know are nice and big. The images are nice and clear. And honestly, I kind of like the way things are spaced, and nothing's crammed together. And I like how images are kind of like spread apart in this, in that way, and it kind of alternates text and image there. So good things about this are, I think the colors are good. I don't think you have any idea what the if that's a church logo, then props to you, because honestly I don't even know what theirs is. But if not, it's a good, a good little ad there to put that in there, and it's nice and readable. I think that overall it's a good piece. And maybe right here you could make sure this doesn't quite bump that edge. But I like how clean it is in terms of the imagery. I like the background color. I think there still maybe could be some things you could do with text color potentially, but I'm not saying you have to. This red I think could work nicely if you wanted to put that St. Paul or something like that in that red. Just an idea. But I like how clean it is. It's readable. It's spaced generally pretty well, and I'll give you more detailed feedback later. But I like this take. Anthony, you're late. 12 minutes late. Okay, different take. I like the earthy tones. That's a nice touch. Purples are kind of common. In fact, I'll show you mine. It's going to be kind of in that color scheme. Really cool. So I like how you kind of combined these two fonts here, and they say the same thing. That is a unique treatment. So you're able to make it readable, but at the same time, you're repeating the same text and giving us kind of a feel for what it might be like. Again, clean imagery. I think you have enough information. There's no time on there, but and so ideally we'd have all the information we'd need. So maybe the date and time would be nice. I see the dates up here, so maybe just the time. But honestly, there's probably some things you could just do away with. But overall, I like the earthy tones. I like the imagery. It's nice and clean. You guys are doing a great job with that. And it's spaced out nicely. This is a good example of using space generously and making sure things have enough space to breathe apart from one another. So again, really cool, Anthony. I really appreciate this design quite a bit. And again, I'll give each of you more detailed feedback when I do the grading. So good stuff. Alyssa, let's see. Nice, Alyssa. So you're making great strides from even the first assignment. I love the gradient in the background, and I like that this text is unique from the rest. So that becomes, like I said in the video, you need kind of that central kind of just identity. I wouldn't call it a logo, but it's like that brand identity part of the whole thing. So this is kind of what that is. It stands out as being, the title of the event, and it looks nice. I like these silhouettes. That's a nice treatment of using silhouettes, especially on a darker background. And again, nice and clean. I'm loving how clean everyone's illustrations, imagery are. It's a different take on it. There's no photos, but I like the silhouettes. That's a nice touch. So I really do dig this. This is actually, I think, Alessa, one of your better things that you've made, and I'm really excited about it. The only thing I can see right now is potentially this gets a bit hard to read down here, but that's your only potential trip up. But I like the alternating black and white fonts. I think you picked great fonts for like the feel of the event, and I can tell kind of the direction that you're wanting to take this. So really good. I'm really proud of this, and again, more feedback coming. Anna, okay, let's check this one out. Taking a bit to load here. I can see why. A lot of strokes probably in this one. Let's see if there's more here, and if there's not, I apologize for repeating myself. Let's see. I'm not seeing on yours on more than just this. If I'm missing something and there's more to it, like text and stuff, maybe it's in the InDesign file. I'm going to download that real quick. And while it's downloading, I'm going to allow that to download. I'm going to go to the next one, and we'll come back to yours, okay? Okay, Taylor, let's check out your stuff. Okay, this again, it says a lot about you as an artist, and I love that. You like doing a lot of these shapes and different textures, and honestly, designers that can make their artistic styles come through in design, even when their artistic style is more in I guess the fine art area, it's really cool. So keep working on that, and I'm glad you're kind of developing your own style here. I think I like the color scheme. You stick with the same colors in both the text and in the colors down here. And this, even though it's so abstract, I like it, and it makes people kind of look at it and wonder, well, that's pretty cool. I'm not sure what this is supposed to represent, but there's a lot of good stuff going on in terms of the shapes and combination of line styles, and so I mean that in the most sincere way. It's a good thing to have a design that makes people sort of stop and think, wow, that's kind of cool. I wonder, I'll have to stare at this a bit longer. So good job in that regard, and this becomes sort of the central image of the whole piece, which is something that I've asked you guys to do. All the information looks good. I'm glad you spaced things out nicely. It's got a good flow to it. I would say that maybe reduce the amount of fonts you're using to give it more of a unified theme. I think that when you use a lot of fonts, you can kind of, the theme of the piece becomes a bit diluted, and so, a font choice and font choices and font combinations are just as important parts of the brand of the design as a whole as the artistic elements elsewhere, like this thing. So just something to keep in mind. Let's try to use less fonts, but Taylor, I like, this is a great step forward, and you're doing a lot of things that I'm hoping in this assignment. So just a minor thing, maybe just reduce the amount of fonts we're using, but all in all, pretty good. Now, I'm going to try to open up yours. That's my design. I'll show you guys in a second. And I guess it might not have just come through all the way in the PDF, so I'm glad I got this. I'm glad I got your illustration here. And I like this quite a bit. If these aren't the fonts that you chose, it's possible, because it's possible that between machines I don't have the same fonts you do, and so that's why exporting in a PDF helps us out with that. Because in InDesign, if I open up the file, you guys probably know this, then if I don't share the same fonts as you do, then they might not show up. But I'm not getting any error message. Maybe I am. Doesn't matter. So Anna, if you want to, if these aren't the right fonts that you did choose, export this as a PDF and shoot it back to me so I can get the full effect. Okay. But overall, good stuff here. I love the artwork that you've done over here. I think it seems to be at least partially original. I think that you actually put those strokes on there based on the size of the file that I was looking at in the grader there, and so that's really cool. I like that you found a nice balance between all these colors. And sometimes when you're throwing colors on and using different strokes, it's tough to find like the right balance, and you second guess yourself a lot. I think you found a great balance here between these shapes and the colors that are going on over here. So I really do dig the artwork, and there's a nice balance between the amount of text and the amount of artwork next to it. And again, if these aren't the right fonts, I'd love to see the ones that you did choose. But if they are, I'll kind of make comments as if they are. I do think that it's very clean and generally pretty easy to scan and read. You know, it's just tough when you have like all this creative artwork in there and then you want to put text on top. And sometimes you got to kind of bite the bullet a bit and say, you know what, I love the artwork so much that I'm not going to sacrifice it for text that people can probably be able to read or assume. And sometimes as designers, you make those sacrifices, and that's fine. I think that you don't want to get rid of too much of the stuff you have going on. Maybe getting rid of a circle or two might help you out in creating some extra white space. And so, you know, readability is important. So keeping that in mind here, you have no issues really anywhere else. It kind of gets a little bit tricky here, but honestly not that much. And so, you know, I think the fonts are nice and clean. Again, if they are different, if they're more elegant, I'd love to see that one too. But if this is the one that you intended, it's clean, and I love the paint strokes and the stuff you did in Illustrator, which that's something that's really fun to play with, and I think you did a great job at it. So good job. Everyone did really great at this. I'm really proud of you guys. I think we all have different things we can probably work on. I'm trying to point out what those things are, and if I'm not being too clear about it in the videos, let me know, and you know, let's have a one-on-one conversation about certain things. If I'm going too fast through this, let's check in and I'll give you more detail in the stuff that I'm seeing in your pieces. And I'm sorry if I'm not providing enough of it in these videos, but I can tell that all of you are making good strides. I think themes across the board are just kind of reducing the amount of fonts potentially, which will help us sort of create a unified theme across the piece. Still paying a bit more attention to spacing, but honestly you guys have made just huge strides this week in making sure that everything, every element is given its proper space, and that helps readability and flow so much. And you guys are doing a great job with putting clean, unique imagery in your guys' designs, and I love it. So great job this week. I'm really proud of you guys. Real quick, I'll show you guys the event poster that I made. And I wish I had like old renditions of this. I might actually, if I go to my files here. It's possible. Just for fun. I'll wrap this video up pretty soon here. Yeah, so I've had lighter purple versions where it's just been a bit more vivid of a purple, a little bit more red in that. And this one I kind of like because it was like a, you know, I thought March, winter, it's kind of got a cool, elegant, sort of snowy, wintry theme. I started with it being red. And initially, I thought, you know, Nebraskans are attracted to that color. But they, you know, when you're a designer for somebody else, the customer is always right? So they wanted this purple, and some things I've just done, you know, I'm trying to, I'll make this video, wrap it up here pretty soon, but just my design process when I you know, sort of approach something like this. First thing I think about is what information does it have to have? And so I have to make sure that you know, it's just trial and error along the way. Can this be placed here? Is this too big, too small? Usually my fonts are too big at first, and I have to reduce them quite a bit, and that's fine too. And so I have to make sure that every bit of information that has to be in the design is there. Okay, and so a lot of times those pieces of info aren't sexy in terms of like the design, right? But they have to be there. And I developed this on its own. So the first thing that I really did, of course, was sort of figure out schematically where things were going to go. But then knowing that, I reserved this space, this sort of square right here, for that logo to sit. And I did that separately. I didn't want the stuff that I was doing to distract me on the page, and I brought this in after I did it on a separate artboard. And so you can tell they're kind of cream. They're not white. I think having an off-white, sometimes a bit more yellow, is a nice little touch, especially if you're doing something that's, restaurant or drink or, something like this. You would know the situations that might be good for, but um, these things here are little images that I found, and I thought they fit kind of nicely. This beer glass in that L, and the wine glass didn't really fit inside of any particular letter, so I had to kind of sit it over here, which is fine. You don't want to force those things either. These things have a, in case you're wondering, let's see, let's do object effects. They have a transparency effect on them, and it's for example, if I go here and do object effect transparency, you can change things here. Like the blending mode it's at 100% opacity, so I didn't change anything with the opacity, but the overlay blending mode is what gives it that it allows it to blend with that background color, because if I did not have that blending mode in there, let's say I just took it off entirely and put normal, it's just basically white. So taking something like that and doing something in here, which is in the effects panel, InDesign effects are kind of limited, but if you choose one of these drop down options, you can see how that might change the effect. If you do the preview, it's actually, that one won't do a whole lot. Color burn doesn't do much. So I found overlay, and 100% opacity, I thought that looked kind of cool. And so that's also on top of this A here, and so you can see how that white blends differently because of that overlay blending effect with that purple and with that sort of cream color in the A. And so that adds a bit of a kind of cool layering effect. I didn't want to kind of overdo it, but you can kind of see it here too. This object is on top of everything else, just an ampersand with that I probably found in the same font. And so I use this font here and here, kind of hoping to distinguish wine and ale, because guys and girls sometimes drink, guys like to drink beer typically, and ladies maybe drink more wine. And so I wanted to give off the vibe that either of them could go and have a good time, right? And so this is kind of a more masculine font treatment, and this is a bit more feminine to attract both. And the font for the text is the same font as this, but it's just spaced out and is, of course, much smaller. Besides that, this is the main artistic element. Everything else is just structuring text and making sure it's spaced nicely, and you guys did a good job of that in your projects this week. And I was very bold in my color choices, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna commit to one color as the background color, and that's gonna help me create my theme for other pieces in this project moving forward. This is actually a real event taking place that I'm actually playing guitar for this Friday. So you guys did a piece that, it's like this freelance project that anybody could get asked to do, and you guys did a great job with it. I'm going to show the lady that is running it you guys' work, and she's excited about that. I kind of told her you guys are doing this. So again, great job. The next project you'll hear about and see in the next video. It'll be a much shorter video. I apologize for this one kind of running a bit longer, but I thought that I wanted to pack in all this information for you guys, because I just want to make sure I get all the teaching I can get in as well. So thanks for listening. And the next project is going to be related to this. Okay, you've built, again, this is kind of related to the first two projects where you've built something first, and then you kind of use what you've done to help you create something else. And so those two things, or those multiple pieces, should have some cohesion, right, from a design standpoint. And so we're going to practice how to take what you've done and translate that into, another piece that's associated with the same thing. More details on that in the next video. I promise it'll be shorter. And so look for that coming up. Again, great job this week. Proud of you guys. Thanks so much for getting your assignments in on time. And yeah, I'm feeling really good about where we are right now. So here's to week number 5, and look for the next video coming shortly.